missing the skip what you're saying, but we want to welcome Kaitlin to our congregation. Kaitlin, as you know, has been on a missionary trip to Turkey, and she's going to talk with us about that today. And then I'm talking more also in church about a possible missionary to Muslims here right in Rochester as well. So this will be very interesting and very timely. So let's welcome Kaitlin.
Thanks, everybody. It's fun to be here telling you about my trip. Just want to start off saying a lot of thank yous. Just really thankful, and you'll see that just kind of after what I've learned in this place. Just like we are so blessed to have the gospel available to us, which isn't available in this country that I went to. Really thankful. Oh, I think it might already be reacting slowly. And yeah, I'm just really thankful too, just for my parents' support. I know it was especially hard for my mom to let me go to this country, and I'm appreciative that she put a little faith in this. So I brought up this slide with John 3:16, 17 on it, because I feel like one of the biggest things, as Pastor talked about in church today, is just how important it is for the gospel to go to everyone. And the Lord did come for them. He came for the entire world. He didn't just come for America. And so this verse really stood out to me because, as I talked about upstairs in church, is that when I was originally asked to lead this trip to the Middle East, I was kind of like, that's not my people. That's not like my group, because my friends, I have other friends who have gone to this country. I'm like, that's their area. You know, my area is France because I've been there in the past. And it was just incredible when I started praying about this, how the Lord just said, it's not just one group of people that I came and saved, but it's all people in all groups, and you're sent to all groups. So this verse just really, these verses just really stood out to me as I thought about going on this trip. And as I talked about at church, you'll hear as well, but a lot of Muslims are in what's called the 1040 window, which a lot of missionaries have created this kind of illustration of where the most unreached people in the world are. And on this map you see it stretches from Western Africa to east of Asia, and then it's called the 1040 window because it's 10 to 40 degrees north latitude. And in this region, there are 4.1 billion people and 1.3 billion Muslims, and they're unreached, meaning they don't have access to the gospel. They just don't have the resources, they don't have churches, they don't have faithful people living there to tell them the gospel. So there is a great, great, great need for Christian people and missionaries to go to these areas in the world, and Turkey is in this area. And so what I was a part of was called a vision trip, and so we went for 1 week, the week right before Thanksgiving, and we joined this team who is living there, and the girl on to your left, it would be, is my best friend from college, Kayla. She is doing a year of ministry with these people. This is her team. They're in the city where we were, and why we were able to do what we were able to do is because we went and we just joined this team, and we were kind of like just like a big boost to come and to go and just really help them reach out to people on campus to do ministry, but also to just be an encouragement to them. And I just heard lots of stories from Kayla. It is really, really challenging to do ministry in this place. Challenging because they have this Muslim identity. It even says Muslim on their birth certificate. So people are born into this culture and they're expected to follow this religion. It's not something that's of choice to them. And so when they think of Christianity, they think of America, and they really think of people who live here and believe in Jesus, but something that's never a possibility or even an option for them, really, because of this strong religious background that's tied to their culture. And so it was just a really huge privilege to be able to go and to love them and encourage them, as well as kind of catch the vision that was cast for us when we were there. This was just when we first flew in, me seeing Kayla on the train. We flew into one of the bigger cities, Istanbul. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we learned about touring there. So Jenny and Cole are the other two stinters who have agreed to spend a year in this place. They met us and kind of showed us around this larger city, which they're not as familiar with. But this is the first thing we toured. It's called the Hagia Sophia, and I'm not a very big history buff, but I did learn a lot about just how this place came to be what it is. And this is actually used to be a church. And all of the churches in this city, it's incredible, have been changed into mosques. So there's only one church in the entire city that we were in, which is of 2 million people, one small church. And you can still see a lot of the Christian symbols. They made it a museum, so they left a lot of the Christian symbols, but it's now considered a place of worship for Muslims. And this just really hit me when we got this kind of personal tour with a Muslim tour guide, and he was talking about how this used to be part of the big column over the church, and people used to walk under this. And it was just incredible to hear this man say, in his kind of Arab accent, like people used to believe that Jesus was the good shepherd, and they were the sheep that followed him. And this was a symbol of that, which is just not believed there any longer. Here was on the floor of this now mosque, and I was really touched by this. This is a place where priests used to be coronated, and you can see the symbolism of this is they believe that this is like the center. So right there is like representing Jesus or the sun, and then there's 12 circles around it to represent the 12 disciples. But it was also representing the sun being like the sun in the sky, and then the planets revolving around it as we revolve around Christ. And it's just amazing. This is on the floor, and it's still there, and they see it, but it's something that's no longer meaningful to them. You can even see this is really, you can see here on top, this is on the ceiling, Jesus sitting on Mary's lap. You can see that's the old church, and see now you can see the Arabic symbols that have covered kind of the Christian symbols that used to be in this nation. And I wish I knew more about history, but it's pretty much like this new leader came in and just kind of brought these new religious views and said Jesus was no longer the way. And then right across the street, actually really close, is the Blue Mosque. And this, I believe, is the second largest mosque in the world. It was really incredible. Lots of stained glass, really, really beautiful. And everyone had to take off their shoes. That's really, that's how everyone must enter a mosque, because they believe it to be holy ground. And they tied like cloths around our waists and put cloths on our heads as well. And you walk in, and it was just like a very solemn type of atmosphere. And they have carpets all over. And the men, like you can see here, the men all pray in the middle. And then there's the separate areas on the sides for women to pray, because they never pray together, because they want it to be very focused on the Lord. And it was like really the first time I was like, wow, this is real. People really do this. As I saw people, doing the traditional kind of routine of going to their knees and putting their head on the ground, as you may have seen. But as we were walking through here, I was asking Kayla, who was with us, Kayla, do they really believe in this? Is this something that really fulfills them, or that they really find to be really life-giving? And she's like, the students that we've talked to on campus, they really just see it as something to do to please Allah. They don't really even know what they're praying a lot of times, because sometimes it's in Arabic, I believe, and just doesn't have a lot of significance to them, but yet you see them doing these things in order to kind of earn their salvation. And so we spent one night and one day kind of touring in Istanbul, and then we took this ferry, which was really fun, down to the city that we'd actually be living in. Here's us celebrating when we got there. It's really fun. We finally arrived. So this is the city that we stayed in for a week. And as you can see, there's just like no ground. It's just apartments, people just piled on top of each other through this city. And I looked up the population of the city I was in this morning, and it's around 2,605,000 people in this one city alone. And the campus that this team that we have down there is trying to reach out to has well over 40,000 students. So we have about, I think it's like a team of like 8 reaching out to 40,000 students. So you really look out over this place, and you say to yourself, wow, like none of these people believe in Jesus. I'm one of the very few in this country right now who believes in the gospel. And it was really, I remember this one, we actually orientated with, there's a staff couple that's living there, and then there's actually a summer project that was coming to be there as well, to do ministry here for 6 weeks, as I had done in France, kind of same thing, but in Turkey. And we were sitting there, and he was kind of casting some vision for us, and he said, our purpose here is to share the gospel, but we pray and we really dream that one day Americans being here sharing the gospel would be but a rumor. It's like I pray that we would raise up Muslims who can reach out to their own people and can really bring salvation to their own nation, and we will just be but a rumor. And I felt like it was crazy for me to sit there, you know, in this small room, this small apartment, and I was just in the call to prayer, which goes off 5 times a day.